So that morning, we came up, in fact it was way ahead of dawn, we came probably up at about 4 o'clock in the morning, came down and we had steak and eggs for breakfast. Now the chiefs really knew when there was going to be a real battle going on. When you had steak and eggs, you knew you were up for a really bad day.
It's a kind of a jovial group, but not on the morning of June the 4th. It was very quiet, and everybody, and even at the chow line, when we got an early chow, everything was quiet. Nobody was chit-chatting or laughing or making any derogatory remarks about each other as you would ordinarily expect it to be.
I couldn't say that I had any fear or anything, but I knew that I was going to be in the middle of a significant operation. I mean, you know, and so I kind of pushed the eggs around the plate, I guess.
We went down to the mess hall, got into a line, and we could see up ahead, what is this, steak for breakfast? Never happened before. And somebody behind me says, last meal for the condemned men. Everybody laughed, you know.
At around 7 o'clock, they figured we had enough information to know how to get to where the Japanese carriers were. That's what they thought.
Then you start manning your planes, then you know that you are going up there and you are going to have a problem, and you know you're going to have a problem. That's why you're there. So it's, that gets the old adrenaline pumping away, and the old heart begins to pound pretty fast.
The concept at the time was that there'd be a coordinated attack, dive bombers, scouting planes, fighters protection, all at one time. And so when you're taking that many planes off the deck and they're flying joint up, you spend a certain amount of time before you ever depart the fleet.
We were all in the air, and we headed over to the Yorktown, and we circled the Yorktown for half an hour, expecting their SBDs to join ours. And finally I looked over and I watched the big searchlight down there, and it was blinking the Morse code, proceed without us.
All pilots, crews, man your planes. I came over the loudspeaker. I remember saying, oh God, this is it. Put my helmet on, grab my Mae West, and run as hard as I can to get to the flight deck. We had about a pretty boring hour and a half flying, and suddenly I saw a big plume of water, a geyser of water coming up. We were flying pretty low, maybe a couple 100 feet high. And so I picked up the mic and I said, there's a big geyser of water on the right side. A shell landed or something. Maybe somebody's shooting it. Maybe the Japanese have spotted us and they're shooting long-range guns at us.
I got a signal, our radio man got a signal from the radio man in the rear seat of the plane up ahead there, and he said something, Mr. Merrill on the interphone, something about the bomb rack. And I didn't quite understand what he was saying, and I checked around, and when my switches are all set, and I nodded okay. I didn't realize when our skipper gave the initial signal, and this would be arming all the bombs dropped. And I did not know until after the attack that I didn't have a bomb.
We flew for a long time. I know that when we arrived at the point that we were supposed to be, that there wasn't anything there.
Lieutenant Commander McCluskey decided, as a lieutenant commander, without any consultation back with the ship people, he decided to go further.
And McCluskey figured they must have reduced speed And so they headed back in the opposite direction from the reported location.
I said, he's supposed to be here, they're not here, what are we going to do now? Because we're almost at the point of no return. And he went another 15 minutes, and everybody was getting worried.
I saw McCluskey point down, and I looked over the edge there oh, okay, there was a destroyer down there, but I didn't look very long. I mean, I just took one look. Okay, so there's that's probably a Jap ship, and one ship all by himself. I wasn't concerned. I was sitting back there watching the sky and watching very carefully, because chances are then, if there's a Japanese destroyer down there, there's probably going to be combat air patrol up there. And if they came in, let's say from 30,000 feet or something like that, come zipping down, they could be down on us pretty fast.
Things can get impressed on your mind so that an image that you saw years and years ago, you can see clearly again. And just as you and I are sitting here, I can see just as clearly that's Japanese ship formation down there as I saw it that day.
It was just a perfect situation. Here we were somewhere above 20,000 feet. They were heading directly into the wind, and they're right ahead of us, and there were no Zeros attacking us up there. And so we had coming down, it was just like shooting fish in a barrel.
You know, it's unbelievable that you'd have carriers out there and no combat air patrol. What we couldn't see was the fact that the torpedo planes had been down there, and the Japanese fighter pilots, the combat air patrol, had come down from 25 or 30,000 feet, had come down to sea level in order to shoot down all those torpedo planes. They were having a field day.
It takes about 22 seconds to go from, say, 22,000 feet down to 1,500 where you release the bomb. And in that period of time, of course, you can see 4 or 5 planes ahead of you.
I watched Earl Gallagher come down, and he made a really, really low hit. There was a plane about maybe 200 feet away from the stern of the Kaga or the Kagi, and it appeared to be moving forward. And his 500-pound bomb landed just squarely on top of it, balloon. And then his 2 incendiaries landed on either side of it, and immediately the whole stern of the ship was a ball of fire about 50 feet high. When I dropped on the thing, I used the red circle on the bow of the thing as my target. But I just barely made that pull out to make sure that it would hit. And I saw the bomb land exactly, right at the edge of that big red circle.
He pulled out so hard that he blanked me out for just a second or two. And when I opened up my eyes, I'm looking right at the side of the Kaga. There were just flames all over the place.
Picked up the mic, and I said, smoke on the horizon, 2 o'clock. Next thing I knew was Harry Carl said, up ahead, up ahead, up ahead. And I saw a Zero coming at us head on.
The torpedo planes had taken off ahead of us, and they were down low. And we were up there, maybe 20,000 feet in the neighborhood. And we could see the torpedo planes down below us. I'm seeing those torpedo planes getting knocked down by fighter planes from the carrier.
And Zeros all over the place. And I told Carl at one point, there must be 25 of them here, all over the place. And then Harry Carl said, look at the skipper, look at the skipper. I could see that T1 was burning furiously. I could see the face of my boss, the chief radioman, and he was, at first, it was, what's going on? And then fear. He realized what was going on. His airplane was afire, and they hit the water and tumbled, a ball of flame.
I was sixth to dive on Destroyer U. And all of a sudden, I had a terrible blow to the back of my head. I thought I'd been hit. So I reached back and down and behind my head, and I didn't have blood there. What I had was my pilot's helmet and the goggles. And I thought, well, boy, I hadn't been wounded, but I may have a bigger problem because the pilot could have been hit. But I thought I was going to pull the plane out of a dive. I turned around, got the stick from against the wall, reached over to put it in the socket. And I saw my pilot's head, bare head, sticking out past that plate. And he was undoubtedly lining up, getting a better angle to at the ship. And I breathed a big sigh of relief and put that darn stick back in the slot, turned my seat back completely around, you know, got a hold of my guns and was ready.
When I came at a safe distance away and had a chance to fly up to 1,000 feet high, I looked back and to see what was happening. It was like 3 haystacks on a fire. So in less than, of course, a lot of people say 5 minutes, but according to my records, it was 4 minutes that all these big ships were on fire and just totally gone in the flames.